morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you do roll call, please.
Keisha Johnner.
Here.
Jim Mueller.
Here.
Steve McComb. Here.
Entertain a motion for today's agenda.
Move to approve today's agenda.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Communications. I do have a few communications that this morning on board. I want to give a shout out this morning. If you'll notice, last week I spoke about our sign here that's before us. I want to thank Trojan Ironworks, which is a class at the Pleasantville Schools, which is under the FFA program. I also want to thank Chris and his staff for facilitating that and working that together and then placing that. So we were very, very thankful. So thank you for the class for doing that. Also, a reminder of those of non-essential offices are off on Friday. So, so Thursday and Friday. So a happy Thanksgiving. Other than that, does anybody else have any communications? So no, move on. On to public comments. This is the portion of the agenda during which we can hear from the public. There are items that are not on the agenda below. These could be possible future agenda items. Is there any public comments? Yep. Morning, Chris.
Good morning. Well, you've already talked about signs, so I don't need to do that, but just a nice reminder, we have winter is here upon us. It'll be here this Friday and Saturday. A public reminder I give every year, especially courthouse employees and public employees, wear proper footwear. So your safety is in your hands. It's not our responsibility to keep you safe. We do our very best to keep the sidewalks clean and ice melt be out, but every year we have trips and falls, and it's always because people are wearing improper footwear. So once again, this is your yearly reminder to wear proper attire.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Any other public comments? Anything online? No. Moving on, entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McComb. Aye.
On to business. Board, before you today is item number 1, which is Pleasant Grove Township. Board, I felt that it was important to put this on the agenda. I've had some communication with the township, and to give you a little bit of back history, we have had some township trustees change in the last, I would say, couple years. And actually in 2024, I attended probably 6 months worth of meetings to try to help them. We are still having some issues with some attendance issues, and I'd also like to discuss duties stated per the Iowa Code this morning. So before we get started any further, I'd like to know who's in attendance here and regarding the Pleasant Grove Township. Do we have anybody present? Okay, can you go ahead and state your name?
My name is Aubrey Burris, and I'm a trustee with the township.
Okay. All right, Aubrey, is there anybody online?
Nothing coming forward.
Nothing coming forward. Okay. Well, board, I had asked that as many of the township trustees and clerk be present so that we could discuss, but since Aubrey's here, and thank you, Aubrey, for coming, and maybe somebody will be coming in online, and if somebody does come in online, please let us know if you are in attendance so that we know. Aubrey, if you could please, you can come to the podium. I've just got a few questions I think that to ask and regarding attendance issues. So thank you for that. Okay, so Aubrey, in concern and regarding attendance issues with the township, do you have, are your trustees present?
Yes,
Okay, so in the last year, how many meetings have you had?
We have had 13 meetings, one of those being a workshop.
Alright. So you've had a quorum for your trustees?
Yes.
Okay, alright. What about your clerk?
Out of those 13 meetings, our clerk has been at one of those meetings.
Okay, one of those ones, alright. Could you tell us about agendas and who's preparing those? I mean, how is that working?
Agendas are, as of last meeting, we made a motion and voted that our chair be responsible for agendas because agendas weren't being completed correctly. Such as there was an explanation regarding items being on the agenda. Postings, we've had troubles with them being posted properly. And they weren't being sent out timely.
Okay, so you guys, as a board, have made a motion and you've rectified how you can get your agendas.
Yes, at our last meeting, yes.
Okay, alright. What about minutes? Are you able to, from previous minutes, do you have everything up to date? Where are you at with your minutes?
We are still waiting on minutes from November of 2026. They have not been approved. Our January 10th minutes have not been approved. We have no minutes for our February meeting. And then we didn't have any minutes to approve on our March agenda. As of the March 28th, 2025 meeting, I started doing our minutes.
Okay,
And those have all been approved going forward.
alright. So again, something you've somewhat within you've been able to rectify. Is that correct? When it comes to the minutes, other than the previous minutes? Do you feel like, have you had communication with your clerk to try to get those minutes revised so they can be before you?
Several times, yes.
And you have that via communication, via email or?
Yes.
Okay, alright. What about financials? Do you guys have who's supplying you your financials so that you can proceed our meetings?
Sorry, our clerk does provide us financials. There are some times that we do not get completed financials. For January, our financials were tabled so we could review them. On February, our financials were tabled. The minutes say that financials were tabled. My notes state that motion to approve financials. One trustee voted yes, and then 2 of us voted no to not approve financials. The April financials were approved, and financials from the April meeting going forward have not been approved.
Okay, and could you elaborate on why your financials have not been approved?
Financials have not been approved because there's being money spent that has not been approved by the board.
Okay, so you're choosing not to approve those minutes because you felt that those items were not put before the board because clearly by code, it states that the trustees have to approve any claims before they're being paid.
Correct.
Okay, alright.
But they're being paid anyway.
Correct.
Some or all?
We don't get the financials until after the fact. We're getting a bank statement, so we're presented with it and there's, can I give an example? There was a bill for the Marion County Express that paid for our trustee announcement and then also for a meeting to be published. We approved that only the trustee announcement because we had approved that in the meeting. We'd only approved that to be paid, but the entire bill was paid.
Alright, and you've been in communication with your clerk to try to get some, having them come to the meeting so that you could, try to have some explanation of what's going on. Are you not resolving, that's not being resolved?
No, we originally had set up meetings on Fridays because he had stated that those were times that he could meet. On Friday the 10th, we had a trustee meeting. He wasn't available at our Friday the 7th meeting.
Okay, so hang on, so step back for a minute. Cause the clerk has been to one meeting in the month and the whole year of 2025, right? So in the beginning, when the meetings were set up for the years? I'm assuming you guys kind of discuss this on a yearly basis, or do you use this just an ongoing?
In the beginning, it was meetings were on Friday evenings. We would have them sometimes on Saturday mornings. They were sporadic. There was no set date and time for our meetings.
Okay. Could, as you as trustees though, and the clerk, you had communication and you did have time set at some point for Friday meetings?
I don't remember exactly how Friday meetings came about. I believe that the effective in January, we started our Friday meetings because that is when the clerk said that he was available.
Alright. But then it started that they couldn't attend. Is that what's happening? And so you guys have moved your meeting after repeated times?
Correct.
I'm not showing up?
Correct.
Okay, and Aubrey, I wanna make sure, you're not the chair, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so chair is it Aaron?
Aaron DeMoss is our chair.
So Aaron, I mean, I'm assuming you guys had spoke about changing that date, or did you guys all agree to change the date?
We changed it in a meeting. We had a motion and changed it in a meeting, and we changed it to the second Tuesdays of every month at 6:30 p.m.
As your clerk stated that they cannot be there.
The clerk has stated that he is available on weekends. I've asked several times. There was a specific time or date that he's able to attend and have not received any specific.
So I got a few more questions for you, Aubrey, and I appreciate this. I'm trying to make sure, so if your clerk is not present, how are your claims being paid? Like, I mean, we all know that one of the reasons that you guys meet a lot, especially I know because of attending your meetings, is that you have a large cemetery. Probably one of the largest in the township for Marion County. So you guys have to meet often. How is those things getting paid? Are you guys approving that? How's that working? So that's just an example. Just want to make sure your claims are getting paid, because ultimately if your clerk can't be there and you as trustees need to be able to have financials and you need to be able to approve claims so that you can continue business. So what's currently, how are you guys paying claims?
How we are paying claims now is we're trying to be very diligent when we discuss like our mowing contract. We approved it to be paid at the first of the month, gave the clerk the authority to pay it at the first of the month, a specific amount to be mailed with like our mowing contract. We've had claims. I got a call earlier this week that a claim was 6 months. I believe it was 6 months overdue, maybe a little bit shorter, because we had questions regarding the claim. I had sent emails asking about it and not received a response, and so the claim had not been paid. We also had the same thing happen with our snowplow. We had seen on the financials that our snowplow contract there had been a payment, but then we had received another bill, and I'd asked questions, what about this payment, and just didn't get paid. We asked him to submit a bid this year, and he said he hadn't been paid for last year. He wasn't going to submit a bid for this year.
Okay. So board, I guess this is in lies why this is brought before us. I want the township to be able to function. And if the clerk is not going to be in attendance, and that they've tried to get them to have meetings. And again, do we have anybody else online? No, nobody else coming. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody, so they give them an opportunity to speak. I want them to be able to function, and so I want. And maybe Aubrey, maybe you know this. Is the chair or the vice chair or anybody else on the checkbook? On the account?
No, we are, right, the clerk is the only one on the check.
Okay. I'm gonna ask the county attorney if, I don't know if, he knows this or not, but is that something, Ross is with us today from the county attorney's office. Ross, is that something that maybe they could have one of their trustees be on the checkbook so that they can continue to operate? And if they approve claims?
I mean, the bank would ultimately have to approve that, but they could try passing resolution to allow someone else signature authority on that, and. Yes, the code says the clerk shall pay those, but if it's not being done, I'm not gonna fault someone else for stepping up and doing that, so they can still. Pay their bills and expenditures and run orderly.
Is the clerk's office an elected position?
Correct, so, and that's a good question, Steve.
And compensated,
Well,
is there
no,
compensation for this clerk?
so. That is something that, I think that they would have to approve if they were going to pay the clerk.
I mean, is it
Yes.
currently a paid position?
We are paid to attend meetings at the compensation that the board allows us, which is $10 a meeting that we submit to Marion County HR. None of our positions are paid
Including the clerk.
positions, correct? We are elected, we serve at our
Yes.
positions, yes.
So, and if the clerk, and the clerk is elected just as the trustees are, clearly the clerk cannot pay bills without the trustees approval. But we all know, we as electeds are held at a higher standard, right? When we are elected, we know that we're supposed to be doing our job. At this point, I want the township to continue to be able to function. And if the clerk is not communicating well, is not coming to meetings, then I gotta be able to have you to continue with business. So I would like to see that you, when is your next meeting? Is it in December?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe it was December 9th.
Okay. I would like to see you pass a resolution to, so that the bank could place, whether it's your chair, however you guys feel. But typically it could be your chair, to be on the checkbook, so then you can pay claims, okay? I do think, I'm gonna state this, I do think it's wise, what is your other trustee's name?
His name is Blake Hillsaback.
Okay, so. I don't think that it should just be two of you if you were doing, claims. I would strongly suggest that all three of you be present. Then you have two witnesses agreeing that yes, we need to get this paid for. And, as long as, whoever is going to be on the bank account, along with the clerk, okay, so that we can proceed, all right? Does that make sense of what I'm stating?
We had passed a motion that the chair, Aaron DeMoss, be on the checking account. With the claims being paid prior to approval. I had been asked to be on the checking account and I was not comfortable being on the checking account with claims being paid without approval.
Okay, so you're saying back claims, but if you clearly state as a resolution at this date forward, this is when this would be, you know. And clearly, I feel that the bank's going to know signatures, right, to be able to, when you guys get your financials, do you see the statements themselves?
At our last meeting, we were missing pages 1, 2 of the bank statements. We were only provided pages 3 and 4 of the bank statements.
Okay.
So
But this could also rectify you making sure you're getting the statements from the bank. That also a copy would be going to the signing also, the trustee.
I would be interested in if you're gonna start stepping into that role, and I totally concur and agree that you gotta get the bills paid or else the business stops. I take the checkbook, because otherwise you don't know what other checks are out there or where the heck they're going. So, I mean, if I were a trustee and somebody else is paying bills that are not approved, I'd say you were losing your ability to write those checks. And as trustees, as a group, we're gonna assume those duties and responsibility. And you're gonna lose that ability to write those checks. So I would pocket those checks and make sure that nobody has any ability to write something that you guys don't know about. Cause otherwise you're shooting in the dark, whether there's gonna be money in the counter.
On top of what you are saying, we have asked the state auditor's office to come in. We are in the middle of an audit, so.
I think that's absolutely appropriate.
I do think that you probably do need to have further communication with county attorney to make sure that, if the checkbook can be pulled. So Ross, if that's something that you could look at, because I don't wanna mislead them,
Yes,
in regarding that. So if you could communicate with that.
And when is the next election for the clerk? When is that up for reelection? Any idea?
2026, I believe, Jacob.
Next year?
I also think it's important that we understand that, with that job, they also do a lot of deed work when it comes to the burial and the cemetery work. So there's also, if we take the checkbook, understanding that the deeds, they need to be filed. Now, are all the deeds up to date? Aubrey, that have been purchased, and are they filed with the recorder's office?
As of yesterday, I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so. Okay.
What's the process if an elected official is not doing the job? Why are they still in the office? I mean, until it. Did it be removed from office? I don't know, because of dereliction of duties?
is that a question to me, Steve?
Yes.
Yes, there is a process for removing elected officials.
But right now, I do feel that it is important that they continue to operate and be able to function. And there's been countless hours, whether it's the county attorney's office, whether it's myself and others in the county that have been trying to assist. But I do think with their willingness, and I appreciate Aubrey for you being present, that means a lot. I know that you want to make sure that this township succeeds and works smoothly. And so do you feel like you've kind of got a direction in which maybe will work and continuing to, I think there's a few questions we've got to get answered from the county attorney's office, but.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to add some clarification to the attendance on the switch from Friday to Tuesday.
Okay.
We had switched to accommodate the clerk. January 10th was a Friday meeting and he was not in attendance. He was in attendance at our February 7th meeting. We had a training with the state on that day. February 28th was a Friday. He was not in attendance at that meeting. March 28th was also a Friday. He was not in attendance at that meeting. So.
You made accommodations for special meeting days for him, am I correct in that assumption?
Yes,
Yeah, and then you still didn't show it.
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate it, board, I appreciate your willingness to have this discussion, and there's no further questions. I'll entertain a motion for this discussion.
thank you.
Well, I think definitely you claim to be paid without approval, but something needs to change.
Clearly, there's a financial impact here that's putting the township at risk. It's incumbent upon trustees and supervisors to step in and make sure that rectified.
All right, County Attorney Ross, appreciate your willingness to be here. Yeah, if you're willing to continue to communicate with them in regarding the checkbook issue, whether the clerk and whether you remove the clerk from having the checkbook, if that's legally they are able to do that.
Yes.
I appreciate your willingness to check into that and communicate that to Pleasant Grove Township. I have no further comments. Entertain a motion to close discussion.
Move to close discussion.
I'll support
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Mueller.
it. All right.
On to item number 2, board. Before us is City of Pella, Fountain Hills for urban renewal and area extension agreement. If you recall, probably a couple months ago, we had received the TIF extension and urban renewal, and this is with regard to Larry DeVries and Rosemary DeVries' development. Jim, if you could, I know that the last time, we had met and discussed about this. You had, expressed if we were gonna do a 5-year extension, could we have any stake in those, low and moderate income dollars? And could you just kind of summarize what you had found?
Sure.
Yep.
Yep, I reached out to those in the know of how this whole process worked with the requirements of LMI. And the ability to assign LMI funds to another government agency is not something that is legal, or they don't have the ability to do that. So if LMI is generating one specific governmental agency area of concern, they cannot encumber that with input from another. They can't give it away to somebody else. So that being said, it sounded like a reasonable request in order to make that extension for an additional 5 years, but it sounds as if it's not something that we would be legally able to do. So I have subsequently dropped my request to make that happen.
I also would like to remind that we, we had stated that we would like to be able to have input when it comes to the LMI dollars. And we will still continue to be able to have that. But that's just input. That's not saying what's really, whether could happen with it, but, I do think that that's, it's stated on page 2 as the county has requested the opportunity to provide input on how the city spends the funds placed in the LMI fund. Any further questions in regarding, this would be taking, so I think for the public to understand, when it comes to tax increment finance, a city can do these within 10 years. They do not have to come to before the county and the school system. But once you extend that for another 5 years, then it has to come before us as a board to agree to that. And so that's what this extension is. This is an extension from 10 to 15 years. Now, as Jake tells me, the 15 years is the max, but it doesn't mean that it can't be paid back before that. So this just says, hey, it could take up to 15 years before you're going to see that property tax revenue increase. So without going full into depth, TIF is, it's kind of lengthy, but yes.
Actually, I would, having prior experience with TIFs and those, there's a large misunderstanding out there. It's not a governmental giveaway. It is not something that is going to, the county or the city is not going to be sitting there writing the developer checks that for property that exists today. The only thing that this is doing is saying that the property as it exists today will continue to be taxed as it is today for the next 10 years or 15 years. And any additional tax revenues because of the development will be recaptured by the developer in order to pay that infrastructure. And that is all it is. It is not a government giveaway. I know there's been an awful lot of stuff out there on national news and everything about the government doing giveaways for developers, and that is not what TIF is. It is strictly the ability and the enhancement in order to encourage additional development that otherwise would not occur. So, yeah.
And I will say, on behalf of the cities, it is a struggle when it comes to developers kind of assume that they're going to receive TIF. And they know that other cities are going to give it and they don't. So let's just use Pella as an example. Pella's not willing to do it. They'll say, well, fine, I'll just take my business to the loss. Which makes it difficult because it's used statewide. And it's a competitive market when it comes to making sure development. So we as a county want to make sure that we're continuing to grow. But we do have to think diligently in which, a 5-year extension. I will tell you that when looking at this, see here, I was thinking of the amount. Is the amount in here? I don't know how much the TIF is going to be. Yeah, 2.3 million. So, that's a significant amount that the developer is putting in infrastructure to make sure the development, so that's how that will be paid back as Jim had stated, so anyways.
And it's only to pay back infrastructure, it's not profit. It is to put in, pay back for streets, and the required, utilities in the development, so. It's not going to the guys, to anybody's bottom line. It is only to pay back infrastructure. Which is then subsequently deeded over to the city or the county, depending upon where the development occurs.
Is the Fountain Hills that all located within the city limits?
I believe so.
Yes. Yep, it is. So. There's no further questions, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll support.
McCombs. Aye. Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Item number 3 is also City of Cullo, which is Fox Ridge Urban Renewal Area Extension. This is something very similar, but in a smaller amount, board. And I have heard concerns from constituents and regarding the TIF agreement, extension is less than $1 million. And so there's been concerns in why that has to be extended for 5 years. The city, is my understanding, is just concerned to make sure that all the lots actually get sold. And so they feel that they need that extension of another 5 years. But there is a significant difference between the two developments. Any questions, concerns? How you would like to proceed?
Move to approve.
Second. Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs. Aye.
Okay, thank you to everyone. Item number 4 is resolution 2025-92. It's awarded the contract of 168 plates bridge replacement. This is Tyler.
Yeah, so last Tuesday, the board, or excuse me, the Iowa DOT accepted bids for the replacement of the 168th place bridge. This is between Vermont and the Monroe County line in the southern part of the county, south of Attica. This bridge is a federal aid bridge on a local road. What that means is it's not a farm to market eligible road, nor is it a federal aid eligible road, but the bridge itself meets the criteria for it to be federal aid eligible. So what that means for the county is we will fund that out of our local secondary road budget as is budgeted for this current fiscal year, and then we will be reimbursed for the cost of that from federal aid, which is 100% reimbursement as part of the new transportation, not new, but the current transportation bill. Local road bridges are 100% reimbursed for bridge replacements. So the bid received were the low bid was under the engineer's estimate, as I stated in the agenda item, with the other 3 bidders. The engineer's estimate, which is pretty normal, actually. We'd like to see a couple of bids below, but at least the low bid was well below the engineer's estimate and well below what we had programmed. That was actually due to a scope change. So about a year ago, we programmed this project, and then throughout last year in the design process, we realized there was a NRCS easement adjacent to the road. So on one side, we dialed back the scope of the project, kind of made things look per se, which actually reduced the cost of the project a little bit, and resulted in the lower price of $830,000 versus the $1.2 million that was programmed, and the $915,000 that is estimate, I believe. So Herbert Construction was the low bid. We work with them basically on every bridge I've done here in the county in the last 12 years, except for one. So we're familiar with Herbert. They do good work for us and continue to do federal aid bridges, local bridges, etc. So I would recommend award to Herbert for this project.
George, any questions for Tyler?
Any risk of that not being refunded back from the federal government?
These are allocated funds.
So they're already
They're
there.
already in
The
our
money's in the
account
bank.
at the
Further questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution 2025-92.
I'll support
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Mueller.
it. Aye.
Oh, and I also want to say T17 looks really good.
Thanks.
It's open, right?
It is. We finish tomorrow.
On to item number 5, board supervisor updates. Mr. Mueller, any updates?
I really don't have any updates other than to just wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Mr. McComb?
No, I don't have any.
I have a couple. I want to remind everybody that the salary study is continuing. We are moving along. Hopefully, department heads will have another update here soon in December. So, number 2, budget worksheets. I know that there are departments out there that work on their budget worksheets, and I've been having stuff. There's also boards that work on their for the board packets. I am pushing the timeline a little bit on the budget worksheets from Jake to push out. And one of the main reason is I want to make sure we have solid numbers when it comes to our healthcare. So you will not be receiving the budget worksheets until the first part of January from us. So it's not something that we have forgotten. It's just that I'm trying to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers and knowing what we would be having for solid numbers for insurance. And I also think it'll be helpful for our salary study information, and hoping that we will have that finalized in December too, so that you guys will have it for budget worksheets. Other than that, that's all I have. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourned.
I'll support.
McCombs.
Aye.
Mueller. Johnner.
Thank you. Thank you for